Yo, what's going on, man? Today is January the 27th, 2023. It's your boy Chris, and this is the Cash It with Chris NBA betting show slash podcast. Presented to you guys, as always, by the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. We're just trying to find some winners early in the morning, man. Trying to get ahead of some of these lines. I got one that I really like that I want to talk about as well. And I'm excited to get into the card with you guys. So as you guys join or as you guys are listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you're just watching on YouTube. Hit the like button for me. Leave a 5-star review as well. Appreciate the support as always, and let's get into the card for today. Before we get into the card, as always, do like to take a trip down memory lane and do a recap of the top plays that I was looking at for the following day. So yesterday, official play for me was the Celtics team total over 114.5. They got there. It took overtime. Missed a lot of shots. I think when I was thinking about the game, I thought about the Celtics, being an elite 3-point shooting team, and the Knicks struggling in that category. Also, no Mitchell Robinson, thought they would attack the rim just a tad bit more, but they settled for 3-point shots, and they got hot at the beginning of the game. They went cold for a long period of the game. Just an off night from guys like Jaylen Brown. You expect better from him. Off guys from a night like off game from a guy like Malcolm Brogdon. Grant Williams didn't shoot the ball well. They were getting their wide open looks, but it took overtime. Neither here nor there. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and put your cap into the side. But Celtics team total did cash. The Cavs team total, I tweeted about it last night, man. Probably the worst loss I think I've had all season. This team literally took their team total at 114.5. Talked about that being a top look as well. They literally scored 74 points in the first half, and then don't even score like 40 points in the second half. So it's a little over 40 points in the second. It was absolutely insane. They scored 108 with 5 minutes, like literally 4 minutes and 59 seconds left in the game, and don't score but 5 points for the whole 5 minutes of the last 5 minutes of the game. They only scored 5 points in total. Finished 2 points short of that team total that we needed over 114.5. Suns, talked about their team total as well. Wasn't the top look on the card for me, just because the Mavs and the Suns always kind of battle each other. And you saw Luka go down early in that game, didn't return, and the Suns still lost the game. They lost to a Dallas team that didn't have Christian Wood already, and that didn't have Luka as well for majority of that game. So bad loss for the Suns there, but Mavs got that number, which is why I wasn't looking to play that. So soon as you feel like you can't, you know the Mavs, you don't. They kind of reminded me of a version of the Knicks almost. And then as far as props, Garland over 33.5 points plus assists, did cash. He finished with 34. I think he's finished with 35. So I like the spot for him, birthday boy. So the top prop of the day did cash. Vucevic did not clear his 16.5 rebounds plus assists. The Bulls also lost yesterday. So did the Brooklyn Nets at home. Crazy day in the NBA. Dogs covering left and right yesterday. And I didn't like a lot of dogs. The Spurs did get mollywopped last night, and I talked about taking the Clippers team total over as my favorite play in that game. Talked about it on the morning show yesterday. So if you guys tuned in and maybe you tell that play, congratulations. That game was never a game from the beginning. The Clippers covered their first quarter, first half, and full game team total. And I think the spread in each one of those spots to cover as well. They were laying a big number like 13, but Jeremy Socon and a couple of those other guys didn't play, which made it a little bit easier for the Clippers in that spot. I think they won 138 to 100, so they covered the spread and covered it by a wide margin as well. So that's a quick recap of yesterday. I don't want to take too long on the recap, but like I said, hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the YouTube show if you guys haven't already. Doing these videos Monday through Friday, two times a day. But Cashed It with Chris is this one, and the Crispy Captain NBA show is live at 5:15 Monday through Friday. Let's get into the card for today, man. We got the Bucks and the Pacers, and I got one strong look for today. I don't have a lot. Got more research to do, more analysis and digging to do. Also got some injury stuff to check out as always. But let's get into the Bucks and the Pacers. So Bucks are getting back to full strength. We know that Chris Middleton just came back. Giannis just came back. I think everybody's expected to play in this game. They will be without Bobby Portis once again. This team is 9-13-2 against the spread on the road. They're coming off a win against the short-handed Denver Nuggets in a game that flew under the total. They also didn't cover the spread. Only won that game by 8 points. Went under their team total. Also, Denver actually held them under their team total. Denver also went under their team total as well. The Bucks do play the Pelicans tomorrow. So that Denver game the other day was the start of a 5-game home trip. So a 5-game homestand. So I do expect this team to, start building up, stacking up some wins. They do get the Pelicans on Sunday. So probably a spot they got circled. Well, no Zion. I don't know how much they care about that game, but neither here nor there. The Pacers, this team has not been good. They did beat Chicago the other day. They went to Orlando, got smacked up on the second night of a back-to-back in a game that we did get right, taking the Orlando Magic team total to go over in that game. And this team plays in Memphis coming up. Memphis just embarrassed them 130-112 back on the 29th of January. I think this is a pretty easy cap. I'd be looking at the Bucks. I think these two teams did just play, so there will be a revenge spot for Indiana. You also got a lot of guys on the injury report, but I think to me in this game is Bucks or nothing. I think they need to string together some wins, and I think that they can. The Pacers are not a good team, but I'll probably stay off the side in this one. It's kind of sharing notes. You got a lot of injury news for the Indiana Pacers. Miles Turner, Aaron Naismith, Nembhard, who missed the last game with an illness. All those guys are listed as questionable. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton is still listed as out. I think the Bucks should be able to suffocate this team. If they come in here motivated, like they want to get a win, they'll win this game by 15 points. So not a strong game for me at all. Don't really like that game a lot. Pacers are 2-8, both straight up and against the spread in their last 10. Moving along, let's go to the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves game. So spreading this one has the Timberwolves as a home dog of 3 points. Grizzlies in this one, they've been absolutely terrible. 6-4 in their last 10, lost 4 straight games, all on the road as well. Lost to the Lakers on last Friday. They haven't gotten a win since they've been on the road. So it was a loss to the Lakers. Then they followed that loss to the Lakers up with a loss to Phoenix. They lost to Sacramento. Most recently lost to Golden State. So one day off, and now you come into Memphis. It could be a winnable game. Like eventually it's a desperation spot for this Memphis Grizzlies team. But Desmond Bane is on the injury report. Steven Adams is out. And to me, that makes it extremely difficult to cap. You also got Rudy Gobert on the other side listed as questionable with a groin injury. And Taurean Prince also listed as questionable with an ankle injury. And even bigger than that, this is playoff revenge. Just when you think that the Grizzlies may get a win because they're not playing against an elite team in the Western Conference, even though the Timberwolves are coming off an impressive win against the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans the other day, I'm kind of big on the playoff revenge angle, man. I think Timberwolves gonna take this team serious every single time that they play them. They also don't care anything about their injuries because they're dealing with injuries of their own when you think about Karl Anthony Towns not being there. So I think that to me, this game screams under. I think you see a defensive matchup. Like I said, playoff spot from last year. I would look towards the under this game. I think 237 points, 237.5 points is a tad bit too many. I think so. I do think so. Also, revenge game for Memphis. Minnesota did go into their gym on November 30th and beat this team 109-101. So Memphis has all the motivation in the world. You eventually want to get off the losing snide, and I think that you probably have something that you want to prove to yourself before coming back home, because we know how good Memphis is at home. This team turns up at home, but on the road, they just can't buy a win. And I think that they probably really want one, because this is the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. You've lost every single game and only covered one against the Golden State Warriors by 1 point in the last game, by half a point in the last game. So I think Memphis, should be extremely, extremely motivated in this game. I think Ja comes out, with his hair on fire. But they do need Desmond Bane. They do struggle without having Steven Adams. This dude's not just a rebounder and a shot blocker, but he sets really good screens. He knows the offense. He also moves the ball. And Ja needs those screens so that he can, attack and try to get downhill. So it's a difficult game for me to cap, excuse me, especially not knowing all the injury stuff. But I would look towards the Memphis Grizzlies to, I would look towards the under 237 without even really diving into the game too much is what I would look. Moving along real quick, let's go to the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic game. So I think I had some notes in this one. So Orlando in Miami, right? So Orlando 5-5 last 10 straight up, 7-3 against the spread. They've been covering spreads recently. We know that they were out west on that West Coast trip and did well as a dog. They were dogs in every one of those games, non-conference games. Did really, really well in that spot. Also just 11-11-1 on the road in general, which is close to it's 50%. Covering these spreads on the road. Miami on the opposite side, 7-3. Last 10, they did rest Jimmy Butler in the last game. They're 6-4 against the spread last 10, but this team doesn't cover a lot of spread, especially these big ones at home all the time. Magic are getting a lot healthier. They're non-fit. The Magic are getting a lot healthier, but the Heat are only 9-15 against the spread at home. You look at one thing I looked at was just upcoming schedule spots. Orlando is on the first end of a back-to-back. They play in Chicago tomorrow. Well, they play at Chicago tomorrow. So this is a one-off for them. They had 2 straight home games, won both of those against the Celtics and against the Pacers. They go out on the road for one game and then they come back home to host Chicago tomorrow. So one thing I think I looked at was and all of this didn't end up in my notes, but the Magic, they can cover these big spreads. I can't remember exactly what the number was because I thought I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't. But you look at just from the Heat perspective, the Heat are 8-1 as a home favorite when they're asked to win the game by 5 points or more. Also 2-4-1 in conference games as a home favorite when they're asked to win the game by 5 points or more. I think Orlando can keep this game close, man. I really, really do. I think that they can build off some of that momentum that they had in the win over the Indiana Pacers and the Boston Celtics and kind of keep things going, man. I know Miami is a pretty elite defensive team. They've won both of their last 2 games, but they didn't cover against the Pelicans. And I think it's something about motivation, right? You see Orlando, most teams still overlooking them because they don't have the greatest record. They are only 19-29, but this is a really, really good team. They have a lot of length, a lot of athleticism. The way that you beat Miami, though, is you typically do it from the 3-point line. The Orlando Magic don't have the greatest 3-point shooters, but they do have guys that can kind of fill it up. Not the greatest, but they got guys that can absolutely score the ball. So I'll be looking for Orlando to cover this spread. I got some more digging to do on that game, but those are my quick thoughts right there. Not anything I'm looking at as far as player prop wise. Cavs and the Thunder, another game that I'm not extremely interested in at all. Cavs are coming off, a really good win last night. I don't think the starters played too many minutes in that game against the Houston Rockets just because it was a blowout, and they finished the game 113-95. And let's see. 113. That was the total of that game, which I needed 2 more points from Houston. But anyway, neither here nor there. Let's see. Jared Allen played 34 minutes, Mobley 33 minutes, Darius Garland 32 minutes, Karis LeVert 31 minutes. So they will be going into Oklahoma City, where it's been really, really difficult to win, man. Oklahoma City is balling right now. This team is hot. They're 7-3, just straight up, right? One of the teams that almost has a winning record in general, for the season, 23-25. But at home, they do have a winning record. They're 14-10. 15-9 against the spread at home as well. And last 10 games, they're 8-1-1 against the spread, or 9-1, depending on where you got the number. One of those games was definitely not a tie. It was an actual win. So, like I said, difficult game to cap. Cavs on second leg of a back-to-back. We know that they don't perform as well on the road. I do think Donovan Mitchell probably sits for this game as well. He is officially listed as questionable. Lou Dort is out for Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the guy that you would need to take away Darius Garland, in my opinion, to be able to slow Garland down and stay in front of him. That's a big, big loss. I know it won't look like that on the in the box score. As far as like the spread being impacted, but I see a lot of points in this game, man. I think I would look towards the over. I think looking at the total, it's only 222.5 right now. Cavs don't typically score as much on the road, but Oklahoma City fills it up. This team is coming off, scoring 132 points at home. They also scored 126 against the Pacers in their last two games at home. Um, I think I see points in this game, man. I think I like the over. Still got some more digging to do. Don't really want to lay points on the road with the Cavs, especially, I watched the post-game interview from Coach JB Bickerstaff, and he said that hopefully this can, they can start to build on this and pick up those winning habits, because this team got their biggest road win last night against the Houston Rockets on a day when, it's a couple of those guys' birthdays. So I got some more digging to do, but I think I see points. I think I see more than 211.5 points, especially without Dort in this game. He is the better, defender. So I think, OKC plays at a really, really fast pace. I don't see them slowing it down. They don't have the matchup advantage interior wise. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen do. So I think they try to get out and run those guys. So I see points. I also see Cleveland should be able to score the ball in this game. And, we all kind of got to wait, because Donovan Mitchell did go through shoot around last night, and he didn't play in that game, but, he could play in this game today, even though the initial look was that he was going to miss a couple games because of that injury. So injury report manipulation at its finest, as always. And then the last game, the one that I'm most confident in, looking at this Raptors and Golden State game. So Toronto coming off a really, really impressive win in Sacramento the other day. I think they won that game what did they win? 113-95. Beat Sacramento in their own gym by 18 points. Game, completely went under the total by 30 points. Sacramento didn't get to their team total or even close, and the Raptors played some really, really good defense in that game. Can they do it again against one of the more elite defenses in the league, elite offenses in the league, especially at home with Golden State? Also coming off a win, shorthanded win in a game that Steph Curry was throughout, towards the end of that game for throwing his mouthpiece because Jordan Poole took a shot that he didn't like. So Golden State coming off the really, really short win, big game for them. Against the Memphis Grizzlies, they take their game serious every single time. And Golden State, last game of a homestand for them. They've been back home for 2 games. They got to go back out on the road. It's the West Coast road trip this time, but they do have three road games against Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver coming up. The Toronto Raptors had 1 day of rest, and then they got to get right back at it because they play Portland tomorrow. So this is the front night of a back-to-back for them as well. So what I was looking at, I think the total's a tad bit too low, man. Total is at 229 right now, is what I saw it at. And I would take the over. I would look towards the over when it opened. Last night it was at 229. You look at look at the Warriors team, 5-0 to the over as a home favorite when the total is less than 230 points. The Warriors are also 7-1-1 to the over when playing their final game at home before starting the road trip. 6 of those games, 6 in a row, 6-0 in their last 6 as well. The over is also 6-1 in the last 7 games, and 5-1. This is on the Toronto side. 6-1 in their last 7 games have gone over. 5-1 last 6 Raptors games on the road versus a team with a winning record, right? Also 8-2 to the over last 10 following an ATS win. Raptors 4-0 to the over last 4 games when away dogs and the total was less than 230 points, and 5-1 in away games that are non-conference as well. 3-0 to the over following a previous away win in which their next game is also on the road. And then another thing that I looked at is when teams are playing Golden State on the first leg of a back-to-back, those totals go over 8 times out of 11. So 8-3 to the over, and 6 of their last 6. So this is my favorite spot last night that I looked at, and that's really what I got for you guys today. I'm gonna look at some props. We know Toronto is typically not a good 3-point shooting team. So I'm gonna look at probably Clay threes in this one. I think that absolutely in play. Draymond, maybe his rebounds plus assists in this one as well. Toronto, I don't expect them to be able to keep it up defensively like they did in the last game against the Sacramento Kings. and I think that they probably lose. So let me see what you guys are on in the chat before I get out of here. Jew, good morning to you. Friday, let's cash. Emmanuel for sure. What up to my guy Courtney? That Luka injury hurt last night. Yeah, it did. I know a lot of people was on the Suns, and that did not go well because of that. Top of the morning to you as well, Zachariah. I took him under. I cashed on the last PRA. Okay. What's good, bro? Clippers, easy money. Them big numbers don't scare people off. Okay. Next bet. I like it. I took the team total. The 120.5. Wasn't official with it, but yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Vucevic is back on the shelf. Yep. All the way at the top with the uncomfortable shoes, man. Can't trust this Chicago Bulls offense at all. No reason Zach should have had more rebounds than him. Yeah, Zach had like 9 rebounds last night, man. It was crazy. Yeah, especially when you guarding a center too. Like you guarding Plumlee, dog. Why can't you get rebounds? Nick game was crazy. Magic 7.5 looks good. That's what I'm looking at to do day 2, Brian. If I had 2 top looks, I think I'd be looking at the Magic plus the 7.5 and the over in the Toronto and the Golden State game. Those would be my 2 favorite plays of the day. Friday, a lot of money to be made. Let's eat. I want to play Kyle Anderson over his 10.5 points. He loves to shine tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. Revenge game for Kyle Anderson. I had not thought about that, Justin. That's why I appreciate you guys dropping your plays, man. I like that. Especially, I would look at his points, rebounds, and assists if Rudy Gobert gets ruled out. I know he played in the last game, but he is listed as questionable with that groin injury. Rudy Gobert is. And Kyle Anderson plays a lot of that backup center. He should be on the floor a lot because, he can guard. He can be on the floor and play more that 4 or 5 position, even though he is undersized. Not if, but while Steven Adams is not out there, right? So they can go smaller without him. I like that look, Justin. I got to write that down and look at my guy, Cal Anderson, man. Good morning, Derek. Appreciate you, my brother. Free Minds, what's going on, my brother? Bulls game, Vegas all day. Yeah, they weren't trying to win last night, man. Bulls has got back to their normal ways. Lose to Charlotte. I'm glad I wasn't official on the spread because I see Charlotte turn up. About 1 time a week, Charlotte turns up. And I know that it could be against the Bulls, right? Like in back of my mind, I'm like, I still couldn't back the Bulls. I just figured Vucevic would, have a good game, whether they were, on them or not. But yeah, I think the whole Bulls work for Vegas, man. I think the whole Bulls work for Vegas. They one of those teams that you just kind of stay off their games because they can break your heart, whether you take them or you fade them, right? So I'm not looking to. They're gonna get the Magic on the second night of a back-to-back. That should be an interesting game coming up tomorrow. So we'll see how that game goes. But yeah, I got to get into more of the player props today. I'll check out some player props, have some for the 5:15 Crispy Cap and NBA show. But that's what I got for you guys today. If I had a top look, like I said, it'd be the over in the Toronto and the Golden State game. And then I'll be looking at the Magic plus the 7.5. But I got some work to do, man. Appreciate you guys as always for tapping in and rocking with me. Best of luck to you guys today. Bet with your head, not over it. Back at 5:15 for the Crispy Cap and NBA show. I'm out.